There's a word in Japanese that has no clean English translation, mottainai. It's usually translated as what a waste, but that's too small. It's closer to a feeling of quiet regret that something with value is being thrown away. Not anger, not judgment, just a kind of sadness that a good thing is being wasted. You'll hear a grandmother say it when a child leaves rice in the bowl. It is a feeling that lives underneath the entire culture, and it is worth over a lifetime a genuinely staggering amount of money. So today I'm going to walk you through 25 things the Japanese overwhelmingly refuse to buy, and what each one is quietly costing you. Some of them will annoy you, a few of them will change what you do this weekend. And stick around to the end, because I'm going to add all of it up for one normal American household. When you see what that money turns into over 30 years, it's going to be hard to look at your garage the same way. Let's start with the biggest one, and it's the one you're standing in. Number 1, the oversized house. The average new American home is enormous. The average Japanese home is a fraction of that size, and families are not suffering in them. They're living in them, raising children in them, and paying them off. Here's what nobody explains about square footage. You don't buy a bigger house once, you buy it every month, forever. A bigger mortgage, higher property taxes, higher insurance, more heating, more cooling, more roof to replace, more floor to cover, more rooms that demand furniture to stop them from looking empty. And a bigger house doesn't just cost more, it generates cost. Every extra room is a room that will within about 18 months be full of objects that also cost money. Number 2, the lawn. Walk through a Japanese residential neighborhood and look at what's between the houses and the street. Almost nothing. A bicycle, a few potted plants, a tiny precise garden. Now think about what an American lawn actually is. It's a crop you plant, feed, water, poison cut, edge, and then throw away. That produces nothing you can eat and nothing you can sell. I'm not going to pretend a lawn has no value. Kids play on grass. That's real, but be honest about which part you're paying for. The grass your children actually use, or the strip of green out front that exists purely so the neighbors don't think you've given up. Number 3, the second car. In most of urban Japan, a household has one car. Often, it has none. And this isn't poverty, it's arithmetic. Because a second car isn't a second car payment. It's a second insurance policy, a second registration, a second set of tires, a second inspection, a second thing that breaks in February. It sits, on average, unused for the overwhelming majority of the day, quietly depreciating in a driveway. In Tokyo, before you can even register a car, you generally have to prove that you have somewhere to put it. You must show the authorities a parking space. Imagine that rule in an American suburb. It would end the second car overnight. Number 4, the giant SUV. Japan has an entire class of vehicle that barely exists here. They're called KE cars, tiny, boxy, cheap to buy, cheap to tax, cheap to insure, and cheap to run. They are a huge share of everything sold there. Meanwhile, the American answer to "I need to move myself to work" has grown into a 3-ton machine with heated seats in the third row, which you use 95% of the time to transport exactly one human being and a coffee. You are not paying for the vehicle, you're paying for the version of yourself who might, one weekend, tow a boat. The truck is not the problem. The truck you don't need is the problem. And here's the part that stings. Every extra ton of vehicle costs you again at the pump, again at the insurance office, again at the tire shop, and again on the day you sell it. Number 5, the 7-year car loan. At $700 a month for 84 months, you will hand over nearly $60,000. And at the end of it, you will own a used car. Here's the trick, and it's the same trick every time. The dealer never asks what the car costs. They ask what you can do on the monthly. Stretch the term, drop the payment, and suddenly a car you cannot afford becomes a car you can handle. The monthly payment is the costume the real price wears. Let me say that again, because it is the single most expensive sentence most people never hear. The monthly payment is the costume the real price wears. Number 6, the car for the teenager. In Japan, teenagers don't get cars. They get train passes. They get bicycles. They get, at 16, the ability to move around an entire city independently without their family taking on a loan. And in America, an 18th birthday routinely comes with a used sedan, a second insurance policy, price per member for the riskiest drivers on the road, and a fuel bill. But if you live somewhere with any other option at all, the most expensive gift you can give a 17-year-old is a set of keys. Number 7, the guest room you use twice a year. Here's one that will reframe your whole floor plan. In a traditional Japanese home, a room isn't a noun, it's a verb. You unroll a futon and the room becomes a bedroom. In the morning, you fold the futon into a closet and the same room becomes a living room, or a dining room, or a place to do homework. One room does 4 jobs. Now count the rooms in an American home that do one job, badly, occasionally. The formal dining room used at Thanksgiving, the guest room your sister sleeps in for 2 nights a year, the office no one sits in. You are paying a mortgage, taxes, heat, and insurance on a hotel room that has, at most, 2 guests annually. A sofa bed costs a few $100s. A guest room costs tens of thousands. Number 8. Whole house heating and cooling. In many Japanese homes, you don't heat the house, you heat the person. There's a low table called a kotatsu, with a heater underneath and a heavy quilt draped over the edges. The family sits around it, legs underneath warm, together, while the rest of the room stays cold. There's a beautiful logic to it. Nobody's shins are in the hallway. Why heat the hallway? Compare that to the American default, which is to bring an entire building, attic basement, empty bedrooms, unused dining room, to a uniform 71 degrees so that 4 people can be comfortable in 2 rooms. You don't need to sit under a quilt for the rest of your life, but close the vents in the rooms nobody uses. Heat the humans, not the square footage. Number 9. The clothes dryer. Step outside on a sunny morning in a Japanese neighborhood and look up. Laundry. On balconies, on poles, on racks. Everywhere. A clothes dryer is a machine that costs money to buy, costs money to run, takes up space in your home, breaks eventually, and exists to do something the sun and the wind do for free. It also, and this is the part nobody mentions, destroys your clothes. That lint you clean out of the trap? That is your clothing. You are watching your shirts disintegrate one load at a time and paying for the electricity that does it. I'm not asking you to abandon the dryer in January. I'm asking why it runs in July. Number 10. The giant refrigerator in the bulk hall. Japanese kitchens are small, and Japanese refrigerators are small, and because of this, people shop for food often, in small amounts, close to home. Americans do the opposite. We buy a refrigerator the size of a wardrobe, drive to a warehouse, pay an annual fee for permission to shop there, and return with a quantity of food designed for a restaurant. And here's the uncomfortable math. A large share of the food an American household buys is never eaten. It's bought, stored, forgotten, and thrown away. That's not a small leak. That is a significant fraction of a grocery bill, going directly into a bin. Bulk buying doesn't save you money on the food you eat. It saves you money on the food you waste. Those are not the same thing, and only one of them shows up on your receipt. Number 11, the single-use kitchen gadget. Somewhere in your kitchen is a drawer, and in that drawer is an avocado slicer. A Japanese home kitchen is famously spare. A good knife, a cutting board, a rice cooker that runs every day of its life. The tools that survive are the tools that earn their space. Every gadget in that drawer was purchased in a moment of optimism about a person you were going to become. And the drawer is now a museum of those people. Number 12, furniture too big for the room. A Japanese room is designed the other way. The furniture serves the room. The empty floor is not a failure. It is the point. It's what makes the room feel like a room instead of a warehouse with a television. Buy less furniture and buy it smaller. You don't have a house that's too small. You may just have furniture that's too big. Number 13, the storage unit. You are paying rent monthly for objects that are not appreciating, objects that you have not looked at in over a year and in many cases could not name if I ask you. $145 a month is more than $1,700 a year. Over 5 years, that's more than $8,000, and I would bet the entire contents wouldn't sell for $2. There is a name for this trap. It's the sunk cost fallacy. Wearing a padlock. Every month you keep paying because you already paid, and every month the stuff gets more expensive to have kept. This is where mottainai actually bites. Not what a waste, throw it out. What a waste that these things which had value are sitting in a dark box while you pay for the box. Number 14, the closet full of clothes worn once. And so the American closet fills with garments worn once, worn twice, or never worn at all. And every one of them was bought with hours of your life. The Japanese approach broadly is fewer and better, clothes get repaired, hems get taken up, a good coat lasts a decade because it was chosen to. Here's the test, and it costs nothing. Before you buy a garment, ask how many times you will actually wear it. Divide the price by that number. A $150 coat you wear 400 times costs you 37 cents a wear. A $30 shirt you wear twice costs you $15 a wear. The expensive one was the cheap one. Number 15, cheap things you have to buy twice. There's an old idea worth putting on your wall. Who buys cheap, buys twice. In Japan, there's an art form called kintsugi. When a bowl breaks, the pieces are rejoined with lacquer mixed with powdered gold. The repair is not hidden, it's illuminated. The bowl is considered more beautiful for having been broken and mended, because its history is now visible. The cheap option is very often the expensive option, wearing a discount sticker. Number 16, the tip. In Japan, you don't tip. You can try, in many places it will be politely and slightly awkwardly refused. The idea behind it is straightforward. Good service is not an extra you purchase, it's included. The price on the menu is the price. The staff are paid by the business, not by the mood of the customer. Now, I want to be careful here, because if you're American, you should absolutely tip. Your server's income depends on it, and stiffing a waiter to make a philosophical point about Japan makes you a villain, not a saver. But notice what's actually happened. A cost that should sit on a business has been quietly moved onto the customer, and then reframed as generosity. You didn't get a cheaper meal. You got a menu that lies to you about the price. Number 17, the revolving credit card balance. Japan is famously a cash country. Bills get handled at the convenience store. Money is a physical, finite thing you count in your hand. And when money is physical, spending hurts. Behavioral researchers call it the pain of paying, and every tap to pay, one-click saved card system on Earth is engineered to eliminate it. Cash is the last technology that lets you feel your money leave. A credit card carried at north of 20% interest is a compounding machine running backwards, pointed at you. Every dollar of that balance is somebody else's excellent investment. Pay it in full or don't use it. There is no third option that ends well. Number 18, buy now, pay later. 4 easy payments. It sounds like a favor. It is a magic trick performed on your sense of scale. Because a $200 jacket you cannot afford doesn't become affordable when it's split into 4 $50 pieces. It becomes invisible. And invisible spending is the only kind that stacks without you ever noticing. Number 19, building credit as a hobby. Here's a thing that sounds insane the moment you say it out loud to someone from Japan. In America, you are expected to borrow money you don't need and repay it carefully in order to prove you're worthy of borrowing more money later. Nobody in Japan is doing this as a hobby. Credit scores are real, and if you live here, yours matters. For a mortgage, for a lease, for a car. I'm not telling you to ignore it. I'm telling you to notice how strange it is that an entire population has been convinced that carefully managed debt is a form of financial hygiene, and that the people who built that system also collect the interest. Number 20, the house is an investment. This might be the deepest difference on the entire list. In Japan, houses are widely expected to lose value, not gain it. A home is treated somewhat like a car, a thing that depreciates as it ages, gets torn down, and gets rebuilt. Land holds value. The structure does not, which means people buy homes for one reason, to live in them. Compare that to the American conversation, where a house is a retirement plan, a lottery ticket, and a status object with a kitchen. And because it's an investment, it makes sense to stretch, to buy more than you need, borrow more than is comfortable, and bet your household's stability on the price going up. Here's the reframe. If a house is a place to live, you buy exactly as much as you need. If a house is an investment, you buy as much as the bank will allow. Those two sentences produce two completely different lives. Number 21, the 6-figure degree. Japanese university tuition, even at excellent institutions, is dramatically lower than what an American family routinely borrows. But there's a difference between paying for an education and paying for a brand. Every year, students borrow amounts that would buy a house in exchange for a credential from a school with a better lawn, and are told this is an investment because someone said investment in a warm voice during a campus tour. Run the actual numbers before you sign. How much debt? At what interest? Against what realistic starting salary? If the honest answer is uncomfortable, it doesn't mean don't go. It means go somewhere else. Number 22, the gym membership. The Japanese broadly do not join gyms at anything like the American rate, and they are, by nearly every measure, among the healthiest people on the planet. The reason is not discipline, it's design. Their movement is built into the day. You walk to the station, you stand on the train, you climb stairs, you walk from the station to the office, and you do it all again on the way home. Meanwhile, in America, we drive to a building to walk on a machine. So look at your membership honestly. If you go keep it, it's good money. If you have not been in 11 months, understand what that $50 a month is actually buying. It isn't fitness. It's the right to keep calling yourself a person who works out, and that is a steep price for not having an honest conversation with yourself. Number 23, the driving commute. An American commute is a private car, a highway, a parking cost, and an hour of your day handed to traffic. A Japanese commute is a train, and on that train people read, they sleep, they study, they work. The commute isn't dead time, it's the last hour of the day that belongs entirely to you. The financial difference is enormous, and it's not just fuel. It's the vehicle you had to buy in order to have the commute at all, plus its insurance, its maintenance, its depreciation, and the parking space you rent by the month. Number 24, the portion you throw away. Watch a Japanese meal get served, and notice the size of the dishes. Small bowls, multiple of them. Rice, fish, vegetable, soup. It looks like a lot of dishes because it is a lot of dishes, and it adds up to a modest amount of food, eaten slowly. There's a phrase, hara hachibu, the idea of eating until you're about 80% full, not stuffed, satisfied. Now picture an American plate. One dish, the size of a hubcap, that arrives holding more food than a person can eat, so that the restaurant can advertise value. And what can't be eaten gets boxed, forgotten in a refrigerator, and thrown out 4 days later. Every scrap of that was purchased with money you earned. Buy less food, serve it on a smaller plate. You will spend less, waste less, and this is the strange part, enjoy it more because the amount that goes on a small plate is the amount a person actually wants. Number 25, the idea that empty space is wasted space. And this is the one underneath all the others. There's a concept in Japanese aesthetics called the beauty and the necessity of empty space. The pause between notes, the silence in a conversation, the bare wall. Emptiness isn't the absence of something, it's a thing in itself, and it has value. American consumer culture is built on the precise opposite belief, that empty space is unfinished. An empty wall wants art, an empty room wants furniture, an empty evening wants a purchase. And that single belief, that a gap is a problem to be solved with money, is the engine behind every one of the 24 things we just talked about. You don't need more space, you need less stuff and permission to enjoy the room that's left. Now, before we get to the numbers, let me be honest with you about something, because I have just spent 25 minutes making one country sound like a financial paradise, and it isn't one. Japan has real problems. Working hours are brutal. Wages have been stagnant for a very long time. The population is aging in a way that puts genuine strain on everything. Small homes are partly a choice and partly the result of land being extraordinarily expensive. Nobody there is living in a minimalist commercial. And a lot of what I've described isn't virtue. It's easy to skip the car when the train arrives every 4 minutes. It's easy to shop daily when there's a market at the end of the street. If you live in an American suburb built entirely around driving, you cannot simply decide to be Japanese about it. So I'm not telling you to move into 400 square feet, sit under a quilt, and give up your dryer. I'm telling you that almost every expense you think of as fixed, as just the cost of being a grown-up, is a choice that some other culture looked at and quietly declined. And I'm not telling you to strip the joy out of your life either. Keep the thing you actually love, cancel the 11 things you forgot you were buying. That's the whole strategy. Find the big leaks, plug them, and keep the music. Let me show you what that's actually worth, because the arithmetic is what makes this real. Meet Dana and Marcus. They're in their 30s, 2 kids, a normal house in a normal American suburb. Both work. They would tell you, honestly, that they are not wasteful people. They'd tell you they're careful. Then they sat down and did what I'm asking you to do. They looked at their life the way a Japanese household might, and they asked one question about each expense. Is this something we chose or something we assumed? Here's what they found. The second car, the one that mostly drives Marcus 4 miles to a train station he could bike to, costs them, all in, with the payment, insurance, fuel, and maintenance, about $420 a month. They sell it and buy a bicycle. The storage unit, full of furniture from the house before this one, $145 a month. They open it, keep 3 things, and let the rest go. The gym neither of them has visited in nearly a year, $52. The food they throw away, the wilted bag, the forgotten leftovers, the bulk purchase that outlived its usefulness, conservatively, $80 a month straight into the bin. Closing the vents in the 2 rooms nobody uses and hanging laundry in the summer instead of running a dryer, about $45 a month. And the impulse purchases, the 4 easy payments, the things that arrive and immediately become furniture, another $90 a month. Added up, $832 a month. Dana and Marcus, careful, responsible people who don't waste money, were spending $9,984 a year on things that a family in Osaka would look at with genuine confusion. And here's what makes it hurt. There was no vacation, no dinner they remember, no joy. It was just gone. So they cancel it takes 1 Saturday and about 6 phone calls. Then they do the one step almost everybody skips. They set up an automatic transfer for that $832 the day after payday into a low-cost index fund. Because money you free up and don't redirect just quietly evaporates back into your life. If they leave it alone for 25 years at a 7% average return, that money becomes about $670 grand. Give it 30 years and it crosses $1 million. They didn't get a raise. They didn't work harder. They didn't sacrifice a single thing they actually enjoyed. They just stopped paying for a life they never consciously chose. So here's what I want you to do this week. Not someday. This week. Walk through your home with a notebook, 1 room at a time, and write down every single thing you are paying for monthly that lives in that room. The car in the driveway, the storage unit across town, the gym, the rooms you heat but never enter. Then, next to each one, write one word, chosen or assumed. The chosen ones keep guilt-free forever. The assumed ones are where your money has been going. There's one more Japanese idea I want to give you before you go, and it might be the most practical thing in this entire video. It's called a kakeibo, a household ledger kept by hand, on paper. Every yen in, every yen out, written down. For generations, families have kept one, not because they enjoy bookkeeping, but because it is impossible to lie to your own handwriting. Start 1. Paper, spreadsheet, app, the format doesn't matter. What matters is that every dollar leaving your life gets witnessed by a human being, and that human being is you. Because remember where we started. You, in a garage you pay for every month, that cannot hold the cars it was built for, because it's full of things you forgot you bought. Go stand in it, actually go after this video ends and look at it honestly. That garage isn't full of stuff, it's full of decisions, and every single one of them was reversible.